you're doing, what skills you have, and even what skills you might need to acquire. So I'll show you how to do that at the end. That's the action takeaway. And then I want to direct you to more resources. Part one is this hard skills, right? Learn and practice the basic technical skills. Part two is all about getting involved. My co-authors and I have found that being involved in a community is a very big indicator of success in a career. It's important to just step out and not just be a good on your own, but you have to be good as part of a community. And taking the time to help and participate in other communities is really useful. Part three is where you pull it all together. That's sharing and leading, and you're able to be well along the way to progressing to be a senior developer. At the end, we'll close and, of course, have a call to action, which is the Who Plus update. What the book is, TLDR, if you haven't seen it, stands for Too Long Did Not Read. And you often see that phrase in posts, which is like the summary. Tell me what it is, right? When you're managing up, sending emails to your boss or even beyond, if you ever have a chance to, communicate with someone in the senior role like Julia, be respectful of their time. Give them the TLDR version. Give them an executive summary. So what this book is distilled wisdom. The people that have written this book are developers. They also work with developers. And because I'm in the book as well, it's basically over a century of developer experience contained in that book there. So it's also practical references to skill building resources. It is interviews with experts, and it's kind of an update to this book that I wrote and published in 2008. Now, the first time I came to Shanghai in August of 2019, I gave a talk about this book, and you can see this book and the talk as well with this link that I've given you here. And that's kind of the basic idea of what the book is. Let me give this one back to you. That's Django's copy of the book. What the book is not. You won't find any code samples in this book. You won't find any advice on specific technologies. This will not tell you how to do microservices architecture. There are other books for that. This is kind of a meta book. It's a book about learning. It's a book about coding, a book about your career. So it's really kind of a pointer to lots of other things. Also, and this is something of a flaw in the book, you won't find any advice from non-Java experts. In my book, I did interview a few other non-Java people. I interviewed some Microsoft people. I interviewed some C++ and object-oriented people, some .NET people, some Python people. This book, the interviews are all Java experts. So if you're looking for an advice from a famous JavaScript programmer, you won't find them in there, although I did mention one in my interview. Let's see. Let's keep going. What this presentation is, it is an extraction of what I think are the most useful parts of the book for this audience here. The book itself is not long. You can see it's only, let's see, including the index, it's 290 pages. But it won't fit in a 50-minute session. So I did want to follow the structure of the book because really a self-help book like this, the structure is an important part of it, right? The information is actually pretty obvious. Most of the things in the book, most of the things that I'm telling you here, and in many self-help books, once you hear it, you're like, well, of course, everyone knows that. But it's the structure of the book that is very valuable here, the way the lessons are delivered. So I wanted to follow the structure of the book in my presentation. This is the visual table of contents from the book. There are 3 parts. So part 1, the basics, is where you learn and practice the technical skills. So career growth in the world of technology involves being great at a technical level. And although the technical side is not everything, right? You need to have more than that. And sometimes not even the thing that will give you career growth. It is a real part of the game. You have to do that. So part one will help you go deep into the technical side and get you ready to advance your career faster and farther. Part two is all about getting involved, right? So developing your technical skills is a great step. To have an amazing career, you have to go beyond the technical, right? So software development is a team effort, and being able to work together with others effectively is a really requested skill that will help you to advance in your career. If you're interviewing for other jobs at Career Mobility Day and you're compared with someone who is an isolated person, collaboration will make you look better. The lesson here is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we're hoping here with this talk and the book to teach you to play the long game, right? We're not here for the fast, short sprint. We're here for long-term, unique results. And this part will prepare you for the long run. Part three is where you put it all together. Now that you know how to establish long-term relationships, it's time to take the last step to position yourself as a leader, to break all the limits in your career growth. So part three will discuss advanced actions that you can take that will help you really differentiate yourself in the market and will transform the lives of the people around you. That's what's important. You're not just, at level three, you're not just doing yourself, you're actually leading and helping others to grow. All right, let's get into part one. So in the beginning of each chapter, they have a bullet list, which will cover the topics in that chapter. It's a very helpful thing. Oh, I did want to ask, we are recording this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's admit that there is way too much for any one person to learn, right? So what we need to do is figure out how to choose what skills to learn. And the trick is, in your current day-to-day role, you need to pick up skills that relate to the project that you're working on, that relate to the OKRs that you are needing to deliver for now. And that's why we call this just-in-time learning. So is anyone familiar with the programming language topic called lazy loading? Right. So I call this lazy loading of skills. Basically, you have a big space of information and you can know how to quickly go from knowing a little bit to knowing a lot. And that's why I call it lazy loading of skills. So to characterize the lazy loading of skills is this little framework called the orders of ignorance. Now, this is something in the Rockstar book, which I got also from the Communications of the ACM magazine many, many years ago. So it's so important that I want to highlight it here. So zero order ignorance is lack of ignorance. It is knowledge. I know something. I provably know something. So when you get to zero order ignorance, it's only a matter of time and execution before you have a working solution. You have first order ignorance when you don't know something. Having first order ignorance means you can have well-formed questions that includes enough context about the domain to constrain the answer. So for example, what technology can I use to quickly build a web user interface that supports create, read, up, and delete operations? And the answer might be Ruby on Rails, for example, if you like that. So you don't know it, but you know how to get the answer really quick. You can reduce from 1 to 0. I have second order ignorance when I don't know that I don't know something, but I have a way of finding out. So you have a way to ask the question. You know what the question is. So you might not know that what you need to do is build a website that has a database. But you can figure that out, and then you recognize, oh, okay, now I need to build a database with a website. Well, what do I use to do that? Ruby on Rails. Then I can reduce it to 0. So you're going from 2 to 0 to 2 to 1 to 0. Third order ignorance is when you don't know that you don't know something, and you have no way to find out that you don't know something. This is where all the fun stuff is, because you're kind of just out there in space trying to figure out what things are, and What's interesting is when I gave this talk in 2019, we did not have Bing AI. We did not have ChatGPT. Now it's even easier to go from 3 to 2 to 1 to 0. So it's just remarkable in the time since I was here before, 3 years ago, we now have this amazing tool to go to that. And finally, fourth order ignorance is ignorance of the orders of ignorance. So no one in this room has fourth order ignorance now because you have seen it. So you can cross this off forever in your life. The reason I bring that up, though, is because it ties into the secret to learning technology quickly and continuously. The first step is to have a very broad view of the problem you're going after, the tools, the technologies, the people that are doing it, and more, right? So you need to know that these things exist, their general usefulness, what problems they solve, what problems they create, and how popular they are, right? So to do this, you want to follow the people related to this on Twitter or LinkedIn. You want to search for and find blogs that are related to that. You might want to be aware of conference talks that are happening on that topic. And even in your own organization, find out who's working on that so you can stay close to them. This is all about the speed, right? You don't want to learn it right now, but you want to be able to learn it quickly when the time comes. Another way to do it is to attend online and in-person meetups to find this information. Okay? So the second step, when you're ready to apply something, pay attention to what's going on in your company. So you might have a semester goal that's coming in the dilithium semester that you don't have just yet, but you know you will. So you want to be ready to learn that stuff when you get there, right? So then you might want to start doing tutorials on that technology right now. We have a lot of great stuff on Microsoft Learn, as you all know, and we invest a lot of time in building technologies, and we also invest a lot of time in teaching people how to use those technologies. So you can execute tutorials to do that. One other thing, in Microsoft, if you're working on tutorials, Galia mentioned just today, there can be errors in the tutorials. It really helps to build your career, and I'll talk more about this later. If you find an error in learn.microsoft.com, you can fix it yourself. You can issue a PR, and you can get that change in. One of the first things Jean-Go and I did when we started at the company was fix a problem in the new employee orientation materials, and we were able to do that by creating a pull request. So that's really helpful. Okay. So here, you want to summarize it by, says I'm muted. Oh, you're muted. That's fine. You should be muted. The secret to learning about technology quickly and continuously. Make learning something you do every day. So this link here is, if you want to stick with Java technology, there is at least 68 self-contained, really brief Java lessons in video form. That's just one of the things. It's mentioned in the book as well. So doing something every day is kind of like having compound interest in a bank account. If you do just a little bit every day, over time, it ends up being a lot of money, and it ends up being a lot of skill. Now, the next chapter is about certifications and formal training. It covers the aspect of when should you do a coding boot camp versus when should you go to university and get an official degree versus when do you do certification training. So you really want to approach any learning experience by clarifying and understanding why you're investing your time and money, or in the case of Microsoft, we have tuition reimbursement, why you're investing Microsoft shareholders' money to advance your learning goals. And there again, the important thing is connecting your learning goals to your team objectives. Learning how to do that is an important skill because it's not always clear. Sometimes your OKR may be like increase the number of people using your software from 400 subscriptions to 600 subscriptions or something like that. Well, that's very broad. How do I learn how to do that? Well, you'll have to abstract a bit and figure what are the skills, what are the foundations, and talk to your PMs about what you should learn. That's one example. Okay. This is an example of a thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it shows confidence, how confident you are in something versus how much you know about it. So when you don't know anything, you should properly not be very confident, right? You shouldn't think you know something when you don't. But if you learn a little bit, very quickly you might feel like you're very confident. But the more you learn, it goes way down here, and then you recognize, oh my goodness, I don't know anything. But then there's this long slope of enlightenment. As you learn, I can actually say I'm confident about it, and I also know a lot of stuff. So it's a very common graph that I want to make sure everyone has seen. So a huge employee benefit that we have here at Microsoft is Pluralsight. You can use Pluralsight classes by following this URL. There's anything you want to learn is in there. There's also a lot of great MS Learn paths. This is the top level one, and the one I really think everyone should have is Azure Fundamentals. It's a great one to get. In the Java world, Oracle University is really the gold standard for Java training. And so they have tons and tons of great content. If you want to see what's new in Java SE 21, which just came out in September of this year, this is a great lesson right there. And this little quote right here is from the book, and it talks about how if you are able to take the parameters that you have in your job and find things that are interesting and fun to learn, you'll have more joy in your career and you'll be more effective in the work that you do. And it'll bring a lot more value, and people will notice, right? If you get that skill of being able to understand what to learn based on what you have to do. Okay, in the next chapter, we're talking about optimizing your support network for growth. So here it's about taking responsibility for career. You are not just coming into work, doing exactly what they tell you, and going home. You are also responsible for growing yourself so that you can continue to create more value and grow in the organization. And to do that, it's important to find out what problems your boss is responsible for solving. Because really, in a hierarchy like we have at Microsoft, it's all about decomposing problems. So your boss or your architect or your manager, they have problems that they need to break apart and hand to you, and then you further solve them and give them back solutions. So if you were more explicit about paying attention to, well, what is my boss's job actually, and how can I help them, you'll be able to go further too. So when we talk about taking responsibility for our careers, it's simply taking responsibility for finding the right path and finding something you can do that will move your career forward every day, every week, and every month. And another factor, though, this is where you need to pay attention if you might get stuck in a role that doesn't allow you to do this. So time box yourself. If you recognize, this job is too demanding and they just don't let me do any time for learning, nothing at all. Either we're going to change in 6 months or I'll have to find a different role. That's important to think about too, because, the responsibility might be, yes, okay, I need to find a different job. And that certainly happens. And that's why it's great that Microsoft supports things like career mobility. We recognize this. Another really important one is being able to ask for help. Again, ChatGPT helps a lot with this. It doesn't mind when you keep asking it the same question or different versions of the same question. But interestingly, I have found that the same kinds of skills that get you quick and good answers with ChatGPT are also the kind that you same skills when you get answers from people. Package all of the context into one statement and put in the homework that shows you're trying to help someone help you, right? Another strategy that's mentioned in the book is if you want to ask someone to invest some time, like if you recognize I need to ask for help, and the help I need will actually cause this person to spend an hour or even more in helping me, that's a big request. You have to find a way to make it worth their time. So you might look at what they're doing and try to offer them to help with something that they have. So it's kind of a trade-off back and forth. Another skill for optimizing your network for growth is how to have crucial conversations. So the book recommends this book, 10 Questions to Negotiate Anything. There's a summary in the book. I put a hyperlink there in the talk. And the book itself is also in MS Library. MS Library is also a really great resource for ebooks and even physical books. They can, if they don't have an ebook, they will actually ship you a copy of the physical book. I did this when I first joined Microsoft, and they sent it to me, and I read it, and then I sent it back. So it's great. Another important skill is receiving feedback. Especially negative feedback, right? So sometimes we need to be able to hear things. It's essential that we hear things that tell us what we're doing wrong, tell us what we are needing to grow. Sometimes the feedback is, we have to challenge it. Is it true or not? So here's some 3-step process when you're getting negative feedback. Is the feedback really a fact? Is it true? You can reflect on the feedback and ask, is it a true thing? Is it a fact? Are the facts true, and do you care? Maybe someone's giving you feedback, but they're not in a position to even give you this information. So sometimes people give feedback and they're actually just trying to be mean. So in that case, you might want to reflect and say, is this person doing something because they themselves are in a position of damage? Maybe they need help. If they're being mean to me, maybe they are actually saying, hey, I need some help. Can you try to do something nice for me? So try to turn it around. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is soft versus hard skills. So soft skills and hard skills. Hard skills are not called hard because they're difficult. They're called hard because they're precise. Like a skill such as riding a bicycle or throwing a football or kicking a soccer goal. Those are precise skills. Soft skills are not called soft because they're easy. They're called soft because they're very malleable and they're not precise. And it turns out in software development, the soft skills are as important and even sometimes more important than the hard skills. So writing software is a collaboration process, and being able to negotiate with other team members, being able to take feedback, being able to go into a design session and lead an effective meeting. Those are all soft skills, but those are all really important for software development. What you want to be able to do, though, is combine the soft and the hard skills for maximum results. Once you know about hard and soft skills, you have to acquire the right skills deliberately, right? So it talks about another book called The Talent Code, which I've put a reference to the MS Library there. And it talks about 3 things, F3, in learning a skill. First is to fire and activate the neurons in your brain for the skill. The second one is force. You have to force your brain to do it. Your brain is wired to be lazy. So you have to actually put some effort in to force your brain to do it. And frequency. You have to do something on a regular schedule. That's for skill acquisition. Okay, I already did talk about hard and soft skills. This book does call out 5 particular ones. I'll just leave them here so you can read them. It's kind of open to interpretation why these are the 5 ones. These are just the ones that the authors think are important. I would also add mindfulness as another skill, but I didn't put it there because it's not in the book as a skill. They do talk about mindfulness, but not in this list of 5 things. Another important aspect is being able to step outside your comfort zone. There's a whole chapter on that, and it turns out getting outside of your comfort zone, again, that not being lazy, is where the actual learning happens. And it's a bit difficult, and that's why the next thing I want to mention is a step-by-step process for how to do that. So create and visualize a great future, right? This is like recognizing where you want to go. It's almost like making a glossy television ad for the future that you want. Because when you watch an ad on YouTube or a television, they're trying to get you to do something, right? They are showing you, this is the future you can have if you buy my product. Make that ad for yourself. Also, you need to get past limiting beliefs. You might have a belief such as, I don't have the time to do all that, I'm too busy. Well, the truth is, you can prioritize your activities and find maybe a little time every day. And yes, I will be busy, but I can choose to be busy with the things that matter most right now. So that will helpfully help you get past that limiting belief there. Step 2 is focusing on why things can't stay the way they are. It's basically getting you to think about, well, I could just live with things the way they are. Even though I know life could be better in the future, things aren't that bad right now. Well, if you focus on why they can't stay the way they are, focus on how things bad are right now, that will help you move past. I'm cautious about this one. You don't have to do it too much because you don't want to be so impatient and not happy in the current moment that you're just sad all the time. We don't want that, but we also want to know, okay, things can be better. That's step 1. Step 2 is things cannot stay the same. Step 3 is build a bridge from here to there. I'll talk about that with this smarter goals and on the next slide. And step 4 is planning small actionable steps. Steps are basically things that you do once, such as I'm going to create an account on blogger.com so I can start blogging, or I'm going to join a new user group and start attending meetings. I'll have to fill in the registration form. It's something you do once. Tactics are strategies that you do continually until you get results. Tactics are things such as write a blog post every day for 5 minutes, right? In fact, I was writing a blog post right before coming to this meeting, which I could show you during the follow-up meeting, the tech office hours, if you want. So that's smarter goals, right? You may have heard these before. When you're building goals to help you build a bridge from here to there, make them smarter. Specific goals have to be specific and focused on clear results. Measurable, you must be able to track your process, know how far you are along. Actionable, make sure your goals are focused on doing something. Risky, they should be larger and have some element of stretch to them. They should be time bound. What's the deadline? It shouldn't be just forever. It should be like this sprint or this quarter or this semester. They should be exciting. Make them amazing goals and fun so you want to achieve them. And they also are relevant. That's where working with your manager to help you build correct goals is something that you need to do. So that's what smarter is. So that's the end of part 1. I'll stop right now and ask if you are still with me. What do you think? Is this okay? Information? How much of this have you already heard in one way or another? Some of it's pretty obvious, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll move on. The next step, become a team player. So when building products, you are really building communities. One of the things I did in the Rockstar book is talk to the people there about how they built communities around their technologies. And one of the people I talked to was Brendan Burns. Brendan Burns is CVP now, who is one of the co-founders of the Kubernetes project. He used to be at Google. He's been with us for quite a long time now. And part of the reason why AKS is so popular is because for years and years and years, all of the people building Kubernetes focused on building an open standard community around it. That's why customers are saying, oh, I really would prefer to choose AKS over Azure Container Apps because then I can go multi-cloud. Or because the community around Kubernetes is so big, it's not just Microsoft, it's all outside of that. So community is an important aspect of technology, and the people that are building technologies at Microsoft recognize this. So we're trying to build communities around all of our things, but it is a challenge when the technology itself is proprietary, right? So communities work best when they are not bound to a specific vendor. So that's the challenge we're trying to face. We've succeeded at this with, for example, with Visual Studio Code. Because it is open source, it's not really seen as a proprietary thing. Where when you compare it with Visual Studio, that is just for Microsoft, just for .NET. VS Code is popular with all other different kinds of developers because it has a community. It's not bound to one specific vendor. So it's a challenge. Once it comes to your own career, though, being involved in a community is an important skill. Also, when you are evaluating technology, once you've identified the communities, it's time to start participating. And you can't reap the benefits of the community from being silent and just sitting there. You have to participate. You also have to contribute to these communities to really get the benefit of it. When you're involved in an online community, when you're first getting started, you might find some negative feedback. Sometimes this matrix here helps you put the comments you may receive into perspective. So I'll just leave it up there and you can look through the slides later if you want. And that's also in the book. The next up is mentoring. Microsoft has invested a lot in mentoring. Who here is already in a mentoring program in any way? In the mentoring rings. That's something that we have here in DevTech China. Yes. Did you find it helpful? Yeah. So you can find this link here to participate in mentoring. Mentors, the whole book has a lot to say about mentoring, but I will just say one important thing is mentors help you avoid risky mistakes. So you're always making mistakes when you're learning new things, right? They're a part of learning a skill, right? It's expected you make a mistake to become better. But sometimes if you make mistakes that are too damaging, that can really have lasting consequences. So mentors can help you avoid these really risky mistakes, right? Another thing, it's good to be a mentor to someone else. If you're a mentor to a junior developer, they can help you see things in a different way and understand your own environment from their perspective. Also, more junior developers have more recently exited university, so their training is much more fresh and recent. For me, I graduated from university in 1995. So when I do mentoring, I'm really happy to talk to junior people because they have learned things much more recently than I have, and they have a much newer perspective. So it goes both ways. Another thing of being a mentee is that you have access to information you wouldn't otherwise have because your mentor is, you're going to have access to their network. Let's keep going. Okay, being involved in user groups and meetups, right? So to make yourself important to the group, you don't have to be giving talks, for example. You can just promote the events. Let's say there's a user group that's coming. Anyone who is running a user group always wants to have more and more people attending, and that's always a problem. So if you ask anyone who is a JUG leader or a meetup leader, what's their big thing? It's like, getting turnout. They always want to have turnout. So if you are getting involved, you can help promote them and help get people in the room. Bring some other coworkers, bring some friends. Or when you're there, you can send out media posts on social media about the thing to get more excitement about it and build the community. That will make you be noticed. The next up is conferences. How conferences can boost your career. And so, in fact, the idea for me to write this Rockstar book started when I was starting to attend conferences, and I would go from place to place and place and recognize the same speakers or a small set of the same speakers from place to place. And I was wondering why. What is it about these people that's so special that they keep getting all of the conference gigs year after year? And that's why I started interviewing them. And that's some of the lessons in the book. But you can be that person too. You can start participating in conferences. Also keep track of the conferences that you've attended. This is my list. Let's see if can you click the link? See if it opens up in a browser. Oh, that's weird. VPN or something?
Yeah, it's a small machine. So
okay. Oh, it's all machine. All right, never mind then. Let me share my screen and then you can take it back. Is that okay? All right, so I'll stop sharing because I do have a couple things I need to present later on too. Let me share my screen. Just this. There. So this is all of the conferences that I've either spoken at or attended all the way back to 2002. So there's 21 years of conferences here. Java 1, Confess, Java Land, Dev Nexus, DevOps, so many of them. And a lot of them I have my own videos up there too. So it's good to keep track of that. I would like to ask my colleague Zhang Guo come up and talk about his experience presenting at a recent conference event, Jakarta One Livestream. Come on up, Zhang Guo.
Yeah, so I believe actually a lot of people in the meeting has much more experience than me speaking at the conferences. So here I just want to share some my takeaways after taking part the the Jakarta One Livestream Chinese 2023 hosted this September. Yeah, so here it is. So first, I think speaking at the conference can help to increase my visibility. So you will be here, and when you are delivering a presentation, more people will know you, and the most probably that in next time, if there are similar topics, you may be the go-to person, and then you will have more opportunities to show yourself, right? And what's more, I think it's also a good opportunity for me to present or to promote what our team, Jakarta E on Azure and Microsoft have done to contribute to the Jakarta E community. So it's also like very important. Second of all, I think it can help solidify my learnings. So to successfully deliver a presentation, I have to organize, the contents and make it clear and concise. And also, I have a chance to to complete the the tech that I from the sample I developed before. For example, upgrading to the latest version for Jakarta E and microprofile. So all of these things can enforce my technical details. And the third thing is that I can use new things in the conference. So because there are other presentations in the conference, and for example, I learned that the OpenTelemetry, which will consolidate the all three pillars, including logins, metrics, and traces. So as well, I learned that there's a microprofile LRA, long-running activities for handling the distributed applications. So which is I haven't known before. And then, so it's obvious that it can help us to expand the network. So you can connect more people like you in the conference in the same field, right? For example, in Jakarta spirit, and then you may have more opportunities to learn to know new things or new trend of technology and something else. Last but not least, I think it's good for improving our presentation skills. So even though maybe most of us are software engineers here, but I think it's nowadays it's more and more important for presenting yourself. For example, like in the daily stand-up, in Scrum meeting, in the monthly review meeting, and maybe what's more important is in connect time, right? You need to convey your ideas and to your manager or your teammates clearly and concisely to make sure your voice are heard and you are understood. So and the conference, speaking at the conference can help you or protect yourself for every aspect of the presentation, starting from the preparing the material and like the time management, as well as you need to prepare for like the Q&A sessions. So yeah, so that's pretty much for my takeaways. Yeah, thanks for listening.
The point that John Guo made of learning from other sessions at the conference is really a huge thing. When you get a chance to go to a conference, pay attention to how you feel, how energized you are. It's very normal to come back from a week at a conference, if you're lucky enough to go to something like Java 1 or Devox. In fact, if you know Sean Lee, he had a chance to go to Devox in Belgium a couple months ago, and you just get so energized. You come back with all these great ideas, and you really want to bring them to the team. So, which brings to sharing. If you go to a conference, you can do a presentation, do a tech sharing about the sessions you attended. That's also a great thing to do, or write a blog post about that. So this whole third part of the book is about you did the skills, you joined the community, now you're starting to create content and build for others to consume. The first aspect is building trust and solving problems with open source projects. So one thing we can do at Microsoft, as I said earlier, is execute training. Just go through and run a tutorial, right? I'd like to learn how to use app service with Tomcat, right? There's a tutorial for that. The tutorial might have some problems. It might be out of date. You can fix that. So I started doing this, and I got recognized by the Docs team, and they did this nice blog post about me called Contributor Stories. And if you could take a look at that, it was just from the inner source refreshing of learn.microsoft.com content. So let me share my screen here. So any doc on learn.microsoft.com has this pencil icon, and if you click on it, you can edit the page. So I will show how to do that very quickly. Share screen. So let's go to aka.ms. What happened? There we are. Here, internal guidance. And I'll just pick one of our offers. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. Step-by-step guidance for Liberty. So here's this nice pencil icon. I can click on this, and it takes me to the public repo. The trick you need to know as a Microsoft employee is put the -PR at the end. -PR for the private repo. This is the actual stuff that gets merged and deployed to live. And then, you can make a fork of this and make a change, and eventually you can get it merged. So whenever you're doing a tutorial, if you see a bug and it's easy to fix, please consider fixing it using this technique. So let me go back and share my screen again, or my PowerPoint. Oh, I see what happened. I have to select it over here first. Then do present in Teams, and then it should go to where I was. Did it? Come on. Slide 48. Okay, well, every time I have to go over. Slide 48. There we go. Okay. So the next chapter, scaling trust through public engagement, speaking in blogs. So this chapter is really about being a content creator. That includes public speaking, it includes videos, blogs, any content. So I'm going to ask Galia to come up. One way you can do this in other countries like China is to translate content. You might ask, why is it, it's very hard to create content? Well, you can get visibility by translating content. So I'll let Galia talk about what her experiences were in that. Come over here so you can be on camera. Yep.
Change the next one.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. This is Galia from Jakarta, Indo. Yeah, and I would like to share more my background about why I translate the books first. And when I joined the Jakarta E team, I found there are a lot of new terms that I never heard of. And then I want to search for some books and learn more deep into the Jakarta E standards, right? And then I found, I can't find the Chinese version. Yeah, that's the background. And also when I work with our customer, I found we are not only help them to solve their problem, but have to teach them new technologies. And then I turn to the books for new technology. And also for example, when I come to the DAPA, I found this is a very excellent idea. Then I want to promote it to more people locally. Then that's the idea why I translate the book of the DAPA. Yeah. And I would like to show, actually, to translate those books, it will take a lot of time. For example, the first one, the DAPA book and the Kubernetes book, we translate them in our Festival Friday. Yeah. And for the second one, I just spent 2 weeks on my maternity leaves. Yeah. So now all of them will be the next 2 books will be published at the end of this year. Yeah. I would like to show some takeaway of translating the books. I found I will use the circle you show in the second slide. Yeah. Learn, practice, and network and share, right? Yeah, a book, to translate a book is a very good opportunity to dip into the knowledge of the book and the idea of the authors. And also it's a good opportunity to learn how to organize the material that you are working on. Yeah, we can learn a lot from the author. Yeah, and then we can practice the principle and the idea that the book share, and then we can grow our network, because once the book is published, then the publisher will promote the book in different community, then it will grow our network. And the last is to share, then we can share a lot of the books with local readers. Yeah, that's the cycle. Yeah,
yes.
The takeaway. Yeah,
excellent.
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. It's about another. That's the same with translating a book. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So Galia made a good point. When you get to part 3 in the book, the content that you create has a scale factor, because you create it, but other people are promoting it. You kind of imagine like plugging it into a system. Or if you're a musician, if you're playing electric guitar, and then you plug your guitar into an amplifier, it's louder, right? So when you create content and publish it, other people can pick it up and amplify it along the way. So it's a way to scale your impact. Another thing to keep in mind is you do not need to be a master to scale. Like the skills that Galia talked about with Dapper, she did not know Dapper before sitting down to translate the book, but she had enough technical awareness to learn along the way, reading the book and translating it. So you just need to know a little bit. Think of it like this way. You need to be one step ahead of the people you're presenting to. It could be that you went to a conference, you went to a session about something you never heard of before. You can still present about that. You don't have to be an expert. The other myth is that you have to be an extrovert to share. Extrovert is an English word for someone who just likes to put themselves out there and talk, and they're not shy. Actually, it's very possible to be a good content creator when you are shy, because when you're shy, you're also often very times a good listener. So you might not be outgoing, but you're also good at listening. And it turns out listening is a very important part of creating content because you create the content based on what you want, what the people want to hear. And you know that by listening to them. Another myth is that sharing is a waste of time because it doesn't improve your own expertise, right? So Dahlia mentioned translating the book took a lot of time. Yes, it is true that sharing can take a lot of time, but you're also building a lot of experience and benefit. The last myth I want to mention is sharing is only done in public places and conferences, and that's not true. Internally, even on your team, in your stand-up meeting, you can share and share what you've learned. Okay. Let's see what's up. We're almost out of time here, so let me skip a little bit to get towards the end. We're pretty close to the end anyway. Okay, so be a leader. This section here, this chapter, being a leader, is about managing up and down and across your organization. So when you're interviewing, remember to follow the ACT, A-C-T. You want to tell them about your achievements. You want to tell them about what skills you have and what skills you can transfer to them. That's an interviewing tip. I'm going to skip the standards portion because I want to get to the personal brand. Here it is. So personal branding. The reality is that everyone has a personal brand. It's your reputation. It is what people believe about you. Your brand is the combination of how visible you are, how trustworthy you are, and your reputation among people. And this is one of the things where Who Plus is. If you don't position yourself in the market and control your own brand, then other people will define it for you, and that's not good. You want to be in charge of your own brand. So the book does have some guidance on how to identify your personal brand and become a trusted advisor. You want to first define your vision and purpose. Then you want to take an inventory of how you are perceived in the industry. And then you want to build a narrative about how you want to solve things. So tell me about yourself. You want to tell me about where you're from and what you're going and what you intend to do. So you want to use the STAR method to describe the narrative of your personal brand. The STAR method is the situation. What is the situation you're in right now? Describe what the scenario of the narrative is. The task, what is the task itself that you had to do? The action, what is the action you took to solve the problem and complete the task? And the result, what did you achieve when you got all done? So a statement of brand could be, I help people to do X so that they can become Y, right? So you might say, I help people to learn how to do code reviews faster so they can prevent bugs from being introduced into a code base. That would be a skill that you would want to put in your personal brand. So let's talk about that last in our closing. So the goals of the talk, the first one, get you to want to read the book. Well, Microsoft has already bought the book for you. It's part of our O'Reilly subscription. So if you click on this, you can get right to the book. My book is in there as well. And in the goal here, I want to get you to take that first step. And thank you very much for your time and attention.